गुणातीतोऽक्षरं ब्रह्म भगवान् पुरुषोत्तमः जनो जानन्निदं सत्यं मुच्यते भवबन्धना. With prostrations at the divine feet of Bhagwan Swami Narayan, Bhagwan Sri Krishna, Bhagwan Sri Ram, my Guru Hari, Brahma Swarup Pramukh Swami Maharaj, and my Pragat Guru Hari, Pragat Brahma Swarup Param Puja Mahant Swami Maharaj. Today, on the occasion of the 8th World Parliament of Science, Religion and Philosophy, I feel specially privileged to be a part of this conference. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank revered Professor Dr. Vishwanath Ji Karad for inviting me to this conference. Such an eminent personality. He is a UNESCO chair, founder, president, and chief patron of MIT Pune. I also feel privileged to be a part of this conference in the special presence of Dr. Vijay Bhatkarji. He is an eminent scientist, the father of India's first supercomputer Param. He is the chancellor of Nalanda University. And more importantly for us, I was just talking to Vishwanath Ji that for the rest of the world, he is Dr. Vijay Bhatkar. For BAPS Swaminarayan Sanstha, he is Swami Vijayananda Ji. Because the Guru, Brahma Swarup Pramukh Swami Maharaj, by whose hands I have taken my Diksha, Dr. Vijay Bhatkar has also taken Diksha in 2010 in Sarangpur, and Pramukh Swami Maharaj gave him Diksha name as Vijayananda Ji. And just about like 15 minutes back when we were sitting, he very humbly asked me with folded hands that shall I start writing my name as Vijayananda Ji? And I told him that yes, when Pramukh Swami Maharaj has given you Diksha name, you must write it. And see the coincidence, more than coincidence, see the divinity, that when Pramukh Swami Maharaj named him Vijayananda Ji, he told Pramukh Swami Maharaj that when I was a kid, rather when I was born, my mother always had in her heart to name me Vijayananda Ji. Today you have named me. Today, at the 8th World Parliament of Science, Religion and Philosophy, we all know what Swami Vivekananda Ji professed. That is the combination of science and religion, whose eminent personalities are sitting on the dais. My humblest pranams and namaskars, good evening, and Jai Swami Narayan to all the delegates of this conference. It is the combination of science and religion that can always bring peace upon this world. Noted historian Arthur Koestler used to say, welcome Swamiji. Noted historian Arthur Koestler used to say, if I were asked the most important date in the history and the prehistory of human race, I would, without any hesitation, name it at 6th August 1945. Then the noted historian Arthur Koestler writes that it is very simple. From the day of consciousness until 6th August 1945, man had to live with the fact of his death as an individual. Until 6th August 1945, when the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. From that moment, man has to live with the reality of his extinction as a species. And then this noted historian Arthur Koestler writes that at this supremely dangerous moment in human history, the only way of salvation for humankind is the Indian way. The only way for salvation for mankind is the Indian way. So from philosopher saints like Swami Gnaneshwara, Swami Tukaram, Swami Vivekananda, to noted historians like Arthur Koestler, even a good historian like Alvin Toffler, he writes that India will be the leader in the 21st century. India will excel in all aspects of human endeavors. And more importantly, India will be able to harmonize science and religion. The only country that could and would do it is India. So when I'm asked to talk on the theme of today's session, that role of India as Vishwaguru in promoting the culture of peace in the 21st century, let us all re-imbibe to ourselves, reassure ourselves that we sit with a legacy, we sit with a tradition, we sit with a culture that is destined to make India a Vishwaguru. Even our Guruji Brahma Swarup Pramukh Swami Maharaj used to say that the tradition, the culture, the way of life, the way of thinking that the great scriptures of India has professed, that we have inherited in our legacy, has the power to give peace and unity, harmony, prosperity without poverty, peace without wars to the entire world. Again, a noted historian Max Muller writes that if I were to see under which sky the human mind has developed some of its choicest gifts, if I were to see under which sky the human mind has pondered upon some of the greatest problems of life and has found solutions to some of them, which even deserve the attention of those who have studied Plato and Kant, I should point to India. So from the great philosophers, saints, and historians from our land, to the great philosophers and historians on the Western land, all have professed that India is destined to become a Vishwaguru. Because we have the combination of science, religion, and philosophy. You would be surprised that 2,600 years back, the great scientists of India had developed surgery, which is well written by a noted British surgeon, Mr. Hunter. He writes that 2,600 years back, India had developed surgery to the extent that they could repair human parts like ear, nose. They could even reform it. And the European surgeons borrowed from them centuries later. Mrs. Pluckett, another great surgeon from England, she writes that the Hindus in the ancient times had instruments with them which could cut a human hair longitudinally into two. Hindus in the ancient times, 2,600 years back, had instruments which could cut a human hair longitudinally into two. This is written by the British surgeon, Mrs. Pluckett. And all this we have well described at this Swaminarayan Akshardham in New Delhi, created by Pramukh Swami Maharaj in Hall 3, Exhibition 3, where in a boat ride of just 10 minutes you see 10,000 years of human history. Your boat passes through the classrooms of Nalanda University. Vijayji. The boat passes through the classrooms of Nalanda University in hall number 3, exhibition 3 of Swaminarayan Akshardham in New Delhi. You see Taj Mahal in the making. Your boat passes through the caves of Ajanta and Ellora. In that 10 minutes of boat ride, you experience a sense of fulfillment that I'm born in a great nation, which is destined to promote the culture of peace, the topic that we are talking today in the 21st century. You would be surprised to know that the National Institute of Neurosciences in Bengaluru, they conducted an experiment on about 150 psychologically ill patients. They were like to be treated at that institute. Half of them, 80 of them, were treated by modern sciences. I'm talking of this experiment just a few years back. They were treated by modern sciences like electric shocks and psychiatric treatment and counseling and everything. And about half of them, 80 patients, were treated by pranayams and yogasanas. For like about 2 months of treatments, those who were treated by pranayams and yogasanas for their treatments, they were producing better results towards normalization than those who were treated by modern scientific techniques when it contained like psychological and psychiatric treatments. So we, right from the ancient times, we have developed science. We had the combination of science, philosophy, and religion. From the ancient times, we carried science to the modern times. We have Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, the father of India's first supercomputer, Param. When the United States of America denied us certain components and certain technology after the 1998 Pokhran blast by the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Dr. Vijay Bhatkar took the onus on his shoulders and developed India's first supercomputer. So we have the modern scientists right in front of us. Two, India is among the very few countries who developed a 100% indigenous vaccine during the corona times. The first time it happened in India. An absolutely indigenous corona vaccine by biotech in Hyderabad. So from the ancient science to the modern science, from the ancient religion and philosophy to today's times, we have a wonderful, sweet combination of science, philosophy, and religion that could actually promote the culture of peace in the 21st century. How? That along with this science, we have the world's oldest scriptures which teach us peace, harmony, tolerance, love, acceptance, compromise, apologies, everything. The world's oldest scriptures, the Vedas. What a wonderful teaching. Bhagwan Ved Vyas gave us the gift of the Vedas. After going through all the scriptures that he had written, all the knowledge that he had told to the whole world, Bhagwan Ved Vyas writes as the essence, Alodya Sarva Shastrani, Vicharya cha puna puna, idam ekam shunispanam deyo narayano harihi. That the ultimate aim of human life is to attain Hari, that is God. Same thing, in his own words, was put forward by scientist Werner von Braun when he designed the Saturn V rockets which could launch space objects into space. But he writes that for only with God reinstated in the hearts and minds of people will he guide us with ethical guidances through the dangers of technological revolution. So we need Vedas to guide us through the dangers of technological revolution. Our Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj was once asked by a journalist at New York airport that, Swamiji, this modern science, internet, technology, computers, are they blessings or a curse? Pramukh Swami Maharaj, without slightest hesitation, from his experience and wisdom, from his enlightenment, he said, if this modern technology, science, computers and internet, if they are used with a sense of discipline and a sense of discrimination, they are blessings, and if you lose this sense, it is a curse. So we have the combination of science and religion. We have people who are a combination of it. And that can promote peace. Vedas teach us, Sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukhmapnuyat. The same thing Pramukh Swami Maharaj put in his own words. In the good of others lies our own. In the progress of others rests our own. When we think of these high ideals of the scriptures, and the same put by in simple words for the layman by today's great saints like Pramukh Swami Maharaj and our Guru Mahant Swami Maharaj, we understand the greatness, the glory of the ancient scriptures and their role in promoting the culture of peace in the 21st century. But the most important aspect, now listen very carefully. Today when we have on this 3-day occasion, the dedication and presentation ceremony of philosopher saint Sri Gnaneshwara and Sri Tukaram, World Peace Dome that we are sitting in, and also distribution of 1.25 lakh Srimad Bhagavad Gita. What is the most important aspect in promoting the culture of peace? See, we have institutions like MIT. We have eminent personalities like Vishwanath ji and Dr. Vijay ji. We have scriptures like Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Institutions, personalities, and scriptures play a certain role. But the most important role is played. Now listen carefully. The most important role apart from institutes, education, personalities, scriptures like Srimad Bhagavad Gita is played by a saint who the Srimad Bhagavad Gita describes as the Sthit Prajna Purusha. We have MIT, but we need a saint of the caliber of Sant Gnaneshwara and Sant Tukaram in human flesh and blood right in front of us. Vishwanath ji, ठीक बात लगती है आपको? हमें संत ज्ञानेश्वरा या संत तुकाराम, इस प्रकार के संत, इस कैलिबर के संत हमारे सामने प्रत्यक्ष in human flesh and blood we want it. That is the essence. Institutions like MIT play a role. Eminent personalities, they play a role. Scriptures like Srimad Bhagavad Gita play a role. But the biggest role is played by saints of the caliber like Tukaram and Sant Gnaneshwara. But what about the present times? Sant Gnaneshwara हो गए, Sant Tukaram हो गए. क्या हम इतने भाग्यशाली नहीं हैं? संत तुकाराम और संत ज्ञानेश्वर ने जिनको प्रत्यक्ष दर्शन आशीर्वाद दिए थे, उन लोगों की तरह हम भाग्यशाली नहीं है क्या कि हमें भी इस प्रकार के संत के आशीर्वाद मिले? डॉक्टर विजय जी को मिले हैं, प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज ने उनको दीक्षित किया है. We need a Sthit Prajna Purush described in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We have seen with this eye such a Sthit Prajna Purush, whose centenary celebrations we are celebrating this year in the month of December, January. It will be a 1-month festival, Pramukh Swami Maharaj birth centenary celebrations. A 750-acre cultural city will come up in Ahmedabad. Pramukh Swami Maharaj traveled to 60 countries and 18,000 villages and towns to promote the culture of peace. 18,000 villages and towns. Secondly, he personally visited more than 3.5 lakh homes in 60 countries. and sat with the family members to promote the culture of peace, the theme that we are talking today. He personally read and answered more than 7.5 lakh letters in his lifetime, at an unbelievable average of reading and answering more than 70 letters a day without a Sunday for 45 years, to promote the culture of peace. He initiated more than 1,200 saints like us. Out of them, 750 are graduates, postgraduates, chartered accountants, doctors, and engineers. More than 150 of them are born American and British citizens. More than 50 of them have studied in Ivy League colleges like Stanford, Harvard, Carnegie Mellon, Yale, and Keeling. He constructed, well-maintained, successfully administered, and left behind a legacy of more than 1,300 institutions of social service and spiritual service in a span of just 45 years. How many of you have been to Swaminarayan Akshardham at Gandhinagar or Delhi? Just raise your hands. Just raise your hands if you have been to Swaminarayan Akshardham at New Delhi and Gandhinagar. Like most of you. Pramukh Swami Maharaj was the creator of these institutions. And today, while promoting the culture of peace, Swaminarayan Akshardham on 265 acres of land is coming up at Robbinsville in New Jersey, America. The Sheikh of Abu Dhabi, of UAE, His Highness Sheikh Zayed, the King of UAE, gifted us 27 acres of land on Dubai-Abu Dhabi Expressway to promote the culture of peace, religious harmony the world over. And a temple is coming up there, which will come up in 2024 December. Same big campus, just 2 days back, on 3rd of April, when you inaugurated this conference, here was the knowledge part. 10,000 miles away in South Africa, in Johannesburg, was the practical part when our senior saint, Puja Vivek Sagar Swami, did the Shilanyas Mahotsav on a 40-acre campus of an institute to promote the culture of peace. In a span of 45 years, 1,300 institutions created by Pramukh Swami Maharaj. So every 15th day, a mini or a major Akshardham created by Pramukh Swami for 45 years to promote the culture of peace through the rich values of Indian scriptures, through the rich values of the great scientific heritage of our country. Work somebody can do. Now listen to me more carefully. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam first met Pramukh Swami Maharaj in 2001. Thereafter, in a span of 15 years till 2015, he met like about more than 10 times. When he met Pramukh Swami Maharaj in the year 2001, he had come up with an idea how to make India a developed country, a superpower, and to promote peace upon this earth. So Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sat for about 1 hour with Pramukh Swami Maharaj in Delhi. And he said, me and my think tank have come up with an idea that we need to work in these 5 principal spheres to make India a Vishwa Guru. First was health and education. Second was agriculture. Third was infrastructure. Fourth, communication. And fifth, critical technology. Then with all humbleness he said, Swamiji, you are a God-realized saint. I want to ask you that apart from these 5 elements that we need to develop to make India Vishwa Guru, do you have a suggestion out of your own experience and wisdom? And Pramukh Swami Maharaj said to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, add the 6th element, and that is faith in God. And when people with faith in God, you will get as professionals, they will be professionals with ethical values in their life. We just don't want doctors, we want ethically right doctors. We just don't want engineers, we want ethically right engineers. We just don't want pharmacists, we want ethically right pharmacists. We just don't want computer people, ethically right computer people. For that faith in God, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam liked this idea, and in his last and the 30th book, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the title of this book is Transcendence, subtitled my spiritual experiences with Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Vijayji wrote this book, Transcendence, my spiritual experiences with Pramukh Swami Maharaj, in which, see, now I'm coming to the principal point of my talk as the chief guest of this function. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam writes in this book, Transcendence, on page number 50, that Dr. Brahm Prakash was my teacher, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai was my teacher, but my ultimate teacher is Pramukh Swami Maharaj, because he taught me, Abdul Kalam writes for Pramukh Swami, he taught me how to remove I and me and then work and then associate with people. So Pramukh Swami Maharaj is my ultimate teacher. So I said, you need a Sant Gnaneshwara, you need a Sant Tukaram in the present times, in human flesh and blood right in front of you. And Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam writes, see the sense of fulfillment. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam writes that Pramukh Swami Maharaj has put me in a God-synchronous orbit. I experience a sense of fulfillment. I don't expect anything else in my life. This sense of fulfillment only a God-realized saint can imbibe in your heart and mind. This is promoting the culture of peace. In 1977, when Pramukh Swami Maharaj traveled to United States, the mayor of a county in America, Mr. James Lamberty, the name of the county is Nora Hall, he felicited Pramukh Swami Maharaj with the key to the city. At that time, a senior saint, Puja Vivek Sagar Swami, asked the mayor that you have seen Pramukh Swami Maharaj for the first time. You haven't read much about him. How are you felicitating him with the key to the city, the highest honor of this county, on the very first occasion of your meeting? At that time, Mayor James Lamberty said, now listen carefully what is called practically promoting peace. Again, I'm using the word, practically promoting peace. Mayor James Lamberty of Nora Hall said that I'm giving this key to the city to Pramukh Swami Maharaj for a reason. And the reason is that your Swaminarayan people who stay in our county, about 8 to 10 families, none of them has been issued a ticket for over-trafficking. None of them has a case in the court for domestic violence. None of them has fought with their neighbors. And whenever there is community services, the BAPS Swaminarayan followers are the first to join as servants. So we felt that a person who can inspire such a community on a foreign land, he must be the epitome of peace, and so we felicitate him with the key to the city of our county, Nora Hall, today. So Pramukh Swami Maharaj has inspired communities across the globe who have a way of life as prescribed in the scriptures to promote the culture of peace in the 21st century. So again, I want to say this one line. Saint Gnaneshwara ho gaye, अच्छी बात है. Saint Tukaram ho gaye, अच्छी बात है. लेकिन we want a Saint Gnaneshwara, Saint Tukaram in human flesh and blood right in front of us. तो ही इंडिया विश्वगुरु बन सकता है, वगर नहीं बन सकता है. Institutions, personalities and scriptures play a role, but the biggest role and the major push and power comes from a saint who is living the scriptures. So what the seekers and the sages of India thought and wrote for ages, Pramukh Swami Maharaj lived in a single human life. Today our Guru Mahant Swami Maharaj, at the age of 90, he is the administrative and the spiritual head of BAPS. But to promote the culture of peace, at the age of 90, he attends more than 100 letters every day to solve the personal, family, social, business problems of people the world over. So Vishwanath ji, you are just 82. You are just 82, okay? And I'm giving you an example of our Guru Hari Mahant Swami Maharaj, who is 90. So you are still well capable of working for another 80 years. In this very hall, we will celebrate your centenary celebrations. And hopefully I will come for that occasion. So, towards the end of my talk on the central theme of this plenary session today, when we want to see India as Vishwaguru in promoting the culture of peace in the 21st century, along with the institutions, along with the scriptures, along with such educationists, such eminent personalities, we want saints of the caliber of Gnaneshwara and Tukaram in human flesh and blood right in front of us, so that we may see with our own eyes India, a Vishwaguru in the 21st century. Thank you very much for patiently listening to me, and all my prayers for all of you. Thank you very much.